Hey Jack, welcome back to part 4 in our conversation or our dialogue about the message you sent me. I'm going to read your next part and I'll respond to what you had to say. You say, my script is pretty standard and vanilla with the Mentoring Men crew, but our days are now full as workers, co-parents, and roommates. I've been stuck in this dynamic for years. I believe Amy was waiting for me to lead us out, but I don't know how. I totally get this. And I want you just to understand that we're even having this conversation because you joined this thing called Mentoring Men. And Mentoring Men only exists because I lived this story myself. And then I found other men that lived that story, and together we created a community to share our experience of getting out of this dynamic, this stuckness that you're talking about. And so let that be maybe inspiring to you that it doesn't stay this way. It doesn't have to. That years ago, I was exactly here and without nuking my family, seeing my kids half the time and losing half my assets, or compromising on the life I want for that matter, I was able to turn this around. And it's not because I'm some really great guy. It's because I just learned the things that were causing me to be stuck. And to do that, I had to eat a very big piece of humble pie, which was moving from the perspective that my life is ruined because my wife won't give it to me. And I in a moment, I don't know what caused it, to be honest, I said to myself, I wonder if maybe the problem is I haven't lived in a way that has been very inspiring as a man. It was like, and I'm a guy who's been thinking about like life at a personal level, personal development for a long time. But I had believed so many people who've told me I was a great this or great that, that I had a hubris problem. And so I lacked the clarity and understanding. I had a big blind spot that was, I don't know, maybe this is my doing. And that is hard to come to as a man because we think that means to take the blame. But I didn't experience it that way. I didn't experience it as a, maybe this is my fault. But maybe, and it was a much more positive kind of revelation, maybe I haven't learned to inspire the woman in my life to be a way that I would particularly enjoy. And that was that threw a grenade into the marriage problems. And it allowed me to consider some other perspectives for the first time in 20 years. And it was considering those that led me to some of these truths. So that's a little bit of the backstory there. Yeah, here's a hard truth. You're stuck, but you're not stuck in a way that is external to you, that somebody's ever going to come along, most of all Amy, and unstick you. You're unstuck, or you're stuck because of the thoughts and beliefs that you have accepted as being reliable and true, and therefore live in your day-to-day. And these things happen to us subconsciously. It's not something that you've made a deliberate choice day in, day out to live this way. You learned to be dependent like we all do in life. You learned that other people create the life you want, not you. In Mentoring Men and in the Renewed Masculine Man, we talk about this as being, from a psychology standpoint, you learned that there was an external locus of control for the things that deeply matter to you. And so when you got married, you just started living out of your story. And in your story, those things come to you from outside. And so naturally you look to Amy. When is she going to provide this stuff? She's not providing this stuff. I really want this stuff, but I don't have this stuff. I can't have this stuff until she gives me this stuff. All of that, 100%, is an external locus of control. And you're also like all of us as humans, that you believe your perspective is objective truth. And I can assure you, it's not. None of us can say our perspectives are objective truth. We believe they are. Our brains operate as though this is the only way to understand something. And that gets us locked into a thing where we keep doing the same thing expecting different results, which is the definition of insanity. And so you've lived for a long time in these stories where the life you want will come to you when Amy changes. And I know I say this a lot, but in talking to hundreds of men a year, I have never found a man who says, man, I am living an epic life. It's deeply connected, intimate, vulnerable, passionate. There's nothing I'm deeply longing for. I have the life I want. My partner does too. And it's because she gives it all to me. I've never seen that. I've never seen a man come to a place of a sense of fullness and vigor and vitality because someone gave him those things outside of himself. It's been a really reliable pattern that in men that suffer, they have an external locus of control story that is causing that. And when we see this reliably, and you've witnessed this in other men sharing kind of their growth and mentoring men, is when men switch the story to an internal locus of control. That means they start seeing themselves as the agent responsible and capable for delivering and creating the life they want. They start doing exactly that. They start living the life they want. They start feeling the fruitfulness of doing so. That's the transition. That's what needs to happen to get out of feeling stuck. You have to first see yourself as the hero. But right now, the way you're living is that Amy is the hero. And, well, potentially. And because she's not willing to be the hero, you're actually seeing her as the villain. Now, if Amy, from where you're standing, is either the hero or the villain, what does that make you? It makes you a victim. And I want you to understand this dynamic because it's extremely important understanding why you don't have intimacy and connection. It's another reason. And that is because a woman is not sexually attracted to a man who is a victim in the story and who sees her as a villain who he wishes would stop being a villain and start being a hero. That is the most non-sexy, buzzkill approach to having a life of intimate connection that you could possibly have. And I can say that firsthand because I lived in that energy, right? I walked around in this entitled victimization. When are you going to give me the life I want, woman? Why won't you? You could do better. Why don't we have sex more? That's how a lot of men live their life. It is so off-putting to a female partner. Of course they don't want to be intimate. And so you have to fix that dynamic. You have to move out of the victim role and you have to become the hero. And when you become the hero in your own story, there's no more villain. And that means Amy ceases to be a villain in any of your stories. And when she's not a villain and you're not a victim but a hero, that's when intimacy, attraction, trust, closeness, all that good stuff can come into the relationship when you start walking around that dynamic because you are living in an entirely different set of stories. And none of them are defeated, powerless, victimized story. They're all stories of empowerment, agency, ownership, self-reliance, and they're sexy AF. And when you start living that way, you're going to be unstuck, right? The key is learning how to do that. And as you alluded to later in another part of this message, we're going to talk about the RMM journey, the renewed masculine man, will help a lot with that. So I'll see you in the next video where we talk about that and some other things.